They told me to move out, and 3 minutes later, they called the cops on me. Yeah, that really happened. Picture this. I'm loading feed sacks into the back of my rusty old pickup, mountain air crisp as iced cedar, and my goat screaming bloody murder because I'm apparently 5 minutes late with their breakfast when three glossy SUVs roll up my drive like armored beetles. You know the type. Windows tinted darker than their intentions, crawling slow hazard lights blinking like cheap jewelry. That's how my day started. Didn't even get a good morning. The lead SUV stops short of my gate. Out steps a woman in a pastel blazer, high energy, high heels, and high on her own authority. She marches straight to my fence, clips a plastic sign to the wire with a big red strap, and poses for a photo like she's hanging art in the Louvre. No hello, no excuse me, just business. Two guys in suits step out behind her, standing stiff like bookends at a bad bookstore. I drop my feed sack and wander over, not sure if I'm about to be recruited for a pyramid scheme or ticketed for having ugly goats. Can I help you, or are you just redecorating? I ask. She flashes the kind of smile you give a kid who just bombed your math test. I'm Dedra. I'm the president of our homeowners association. She nods toward the subdivision below my ridge. You're in violation of multiple covenants. The board voted last week you need to move out voluntarily. Formal demand is coming. I laughed out loud, not polite. You mean the HOA for the houses down there? I don't live in your subdivision. My grandfather bought this farm when the road was just ruts under maple trees. One of her bookends necktie wound so tight it looked like a tourniquet pulls out a folder and intones, "We've acquired jurisdiction over contiguous parcels through an amendment. Your property is a nuisance." He sounded like he practiced that speech in the bathroom mirror. I told him, that's not how private covenants work. You can't just annex people who never signed your papers. Also, I'm protected under the Right to Farm Act. Maybe check your Google buddy. Dedra didn't even blink. You have 30 days, she says. This is your formal notice. After that, we escalate. I snapped photos of her sign, zoomed in on the fine print. Escalate how I asked. She just looked over my shoulder, taking in the pasture, the barn, the beehives, probably wondering how I had the audacity to patch a roof without her written permission. We have processes. Today is your warning. Actually, I said because my goats had started chewing on the pickup wiring, today is your leave my gate alone day. You're trespassing off my land. Her smile shut off like a light switch. She waved at her bookends. They shuffled back to their cars and she fired off one last shot. We'll be back with the sheriff. Don't go anywhere. 3 minutes later, sirens start echoing off the ridge. 3 minutes, which means they dialed 911 before their tires even hit gravel. Living rural, you learn to keep receipts and respect the sheriff, who probably spends more time chasing loose cows than dangerous criminals. I jogged to the porch, fired up my security cams, then called the non-emergency number just to let dispatch know there were strangers tap dancing on my property. By the time I got back, my goats had staged a mutiny, and the old dog looked like he'd seen it all before. Cruiser rolls up, tires. Muddy. Deputy climbs out. Big guy kind eyes. Looked like he actually owns work boots. Dedra rushes him. Deputy, that man is squatting on our common area. He threatened us. All the drama. I let her talk because I noticed the deputy's body cam was rolling and this was going to be good. He says, ma'am, this is a civil matter. Also, I need to know who owns what before we start throwing around squatter. He checks my ID, listens while I explain I'm Kate. I've got the deed, called you, everything's on camera. Deidre's still sputtering about documents. Deputy walks to my gate. Radio's dispatch asks the county to confirm my parcel. A minute later, radio crackles and he says, according to the county, this is a separate agricultural lot, not part of any subdivision. Do you have proof that says otherwise? Necktie. Bookend pushes his folder, but the deputy barely looks at it. Sir, you can't stick covenants on somebody's deed without their signature or a court order. That's not how any of this works. Then he turns to Deidre. Did you tell 911 this was a trespass? I told them it was a dangerous squatter, Deidre snaps. Deputy just raises an eyebrow. Did he threaten you? She fumbles. He told us to leave. That's not a threat. He walks them back to their SUVs, voices low, and I stand there watching a hawk circle the upper field, my old dog pressed against my leg like he's been through this 100 times. When the deputy comes back, he says, I'm noting this was a civil attempt to enforce covenants where none exist, and someone reported a trespass with, let's say, creative facts. I appreciate your cooperation, Cade. Keep everything in writing. Deidre peels out like she's racing for a trophy. Deputy hangs back, flips through my deed, and county memo nods. You're squared away. Call us if they come back. Don't engage. I plan to keep it boring and correct, I say. He almost smiles. After they leave, I spread Dedra's fancy notice on my kitchen table, coffee rings, seed catalogs, and a threat to fine me for unsightly equipment. My tractor's a classic, thank you very much. I staple their letter to a blank page and write, nice try in fat Sharpie. Then I get serious, download my deed print, the right to farm law, and a note from the Telecom company that wants to lease a postage stamp of my ridge for a little repeater box. I call Marn, who runs the feed store and knows everybody from the judge to the jail cook. Guess who tried to claim my barn as their common area? She cackles. I can smell their newsletters from here. Just keep calm and stay boring. Call Tariq at County Planning. Make it official. Next day, I bring my paperwork to Tariq, who's more patient than a saint. He checks the aerial map, writes a memo, not subject to HOA, agricultural use, recognized. Please stop calling us. I get that memo stamped and attached to my deed just for fun. When I get home, there's another letter taped to my gate. Final notice, even though it's only the second. It demands access to my land for inspection. Signature looks like someone wrote it in a moving car. That's enough. I send a formal certified response, include my deed, the county memo, and state law. I also file a complaint with Consumer Protection. Turns out there's a box for unfair HOA practices against non-members. I install a trail cam at my gate, put up a sign, private property, no trespassing, recording in progress. My fences are open for hikers and hunters who ask. For the HOA, not so much. A few days later, SUVs crawl past like a suburban safari. Parents and athleisure point at my barn with scandalized faces. Gus, old-timer on the mountain, stops by. Don't give 'em an inch, he says, spitting sunflower seeds. Suddenly, a white pickup pulls up. Two surveyors hop out carrying poles. We're here to mark the boundary. HOA sent us. Show me an authorization signed by me, I say. They stammer, call someone. I call Tariq on speaker. He tells them politely to get lost unless they want a trespass charge. As they slink away, I see Necktie Bookend watching from his SUV, scowling into his coffee. Telecom folks show up, 2 engineers, boots muddy, explain how the little repeater box will help emergency services reach the other side of the mountain. I'm sold, especially when they say federal rules override most local restrictions. I sign the lease, happy to help the county and my bank account. Right as I mail the lease, the HOA's lawyer sends a cease and desist, claims I'm violating their covenants with visible commercial equipment. Demands I submit plans. I reply with a letter that could frost a window, not subject to your rules. Federal law preempts your authority. Keep this up and I'll file for damages. K. From Telecom texts, keep your receipts. 2 days later, I find my gate chain cut clean through. Trail cam shows a shadowy figure in a ball cap, bolt cutters flashing silver. He doesn't step through, just slices and leaves. Deputy Owen comes out grim-face. This is criminal mischief minimum. Between the 911 stunt and now this county attorney's getting involved. I'm installing a heavier chain and a camera with night vision, I tell him. He grins, he likes a good plan. Why didn't I just ignore them? Because exhaustion is how people like Dedra win. Farming teaches you stubborn patience. I can fix a fence and file a complaint all in the same afternoon. I start calling around the HOA, find Eloise, a retired teacher who invites me over for lemonade. We're not all like that, she says. The board scaring everyone with stories about radio towers and killer bees. I offer to speak at their forum, bring honey and handouts titled Bees Not Boogeymen. Carol, whose son has allergies, worries. I show her exactly where my hives are offered to plant flowers far from her fence, promise to communicate. Deidre tries to shut it down, but the room's not buying it anymore. That night, Deputy Owen calls. County attorney is pressing charges for the false 911 report, also opening a case on the chain cutting. Keep your camera rolling. Next morning, I set up a little farm stand, eggs, honey, cash box, the works. Regular Saturday. Kellen, the HOA's compliance chair, shows up, parks half on my grass clipboard in hand. Tries to quote rules. I point to my county-approved sign and thank him for keeping his tires off the right-of-way. Deputy Owen shows up, chats quietly. Kellen leaves deflated. Then things get spicy. Amaya, a lawyer Marn knows, reviews my file, grins. You're ready to sue. Let's draft a complaint. Sometimes just seeing their name as defendant is enough to make them blink. Meanwhile, the HOA tries to levy a special assessment for legal defense. Deidre is charged for filing a false report, and the board flips new interim apologies and a meeting on Eloise's deck. I lay out the facts, give my contact, agree to keep everyone informed. A week later, stormwater outfall from their property pours silt into my pasture, caught on camera, reported, cited by the county and state. HOA's landscapers are ordered to restore my land. Telecom crew finishes the repeater install despite more HOA complaints. Carol's son is stung by the creek, but thanks to the repeater and a quick call, the ambulance gets him home safe. Deputy Owen texts, "Your repeater rocks." By winter, Deidre's paid fines, replaced my chain, picked up trash. Kellen lost his compliance gig. HOA records a formal notice so their covenants can never touch my deed. My farm stand becomes a local ritual. Kids watch bees, hikers stop for honey, and I keep the chain thick, the camera steady, and my files in order. When people ask how I won, I tell them, write everything, be boring and correct, fight hard without getting ugly. They told me to move and called the cops. 3 minutes later, big mistake. The only sirens that mattered were the ones that found a boy by a creek. Because a gray box hummed on my ridge, a deputy had my back, and a farmer kept his receipts. I never moved out, friends. So what do you think? Was I right to stand my ground, or should I have just rolled over? Drop your thoughts below. Share your own stories. And hey, if you ever need honey, you know where to find me.